I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Special Counsel Jack Smith proving that he's just an incredible multitasker when it comes to prosecuting a case already filed against Donald Trump for the willful retention of national defense information and obstruction of justice, while Special Counsel Jack Smith and his team continue to present evidence before another grand jury in the federal courthouse in Washington, D.C., relating to Donald Trump's criminal conduct during the January 6th insurrection and leading up to it. We have now learned that a new witness has been subpoenaed by Special Counsel Jack Smith and testified before the grand jury in Washington, D.C. The individual who was just seen testifying before the D.C. grand jury is somebody by the name of Gary Michael Brown, who served as the Deputy Director of Election Day operations for Donald Trump's 2020 presidential campaign. He was spotted by NBC reporters with a lawyer by the name of Stanley Woodward. You may know that name, Stanley Woodward, because he is also representing Donald Trump's co-defendant in the case brought by Special Counsel Jack Smith in the Southern District of Florida against Donald Trump and Walt Nauta, who's not yet been arraigned yet, but will be arraigned soon because Stanley Woodward is not from Florida, so they have to have a local counsel there. But Donald Trump is obviously paying for Woodward, not just to represent Walt Nauta, but also to represent Gary Michael Brown. Why is Gary Michael Brown relevant? Because he's been accused of being involved in the fake elector scheme after the 2020 election, whereby there was a plan that was attempted to being executed, whereby Republican-led state legislatures were going to send in, and did in fact send in, fake electoral slates on fake electoral slate certificates, not signed by the Secretary of State, but they submitted their own fraudulent documents that claimed Donald Trump won specific states when indeed then candidate, now President Joe Biden, won those states. They submitted the fake electors saying that Trump won when he didn't, to be counted on January 6th when former Vice President Pence, then Vice President Pence, would count the electoral votes. And the plan by Donald Trump was to convince former Vice President Pence to basically say, aha, I'm not going to count the real electoral slates. I'm going to count the fake electoral slates. They wouldn't have called it the fake electoral slates, but this alternative electoral slate submitted by people who are sympathetic to Donald Trump. When former Vice President Pence said, I'm not going to do that, that's a violation of the 12th Amendment, that's a violation of the law, then Donald Trump tried to do the next best thing, and the conspiracy was involving the MAGA Republicans in the House of Representatives and Senate, basically telling them, here's what you need to do. Object to the counting of the electoral votes, say that there are serious questions and disputes because there's these different electoral slates, and what do we do? And then the plan would be throw it back to the state legislatures and let the state legislatures say, under the independent state legislature theory, which is not a valid legal theory, it's being challenged right now before the United States Supreme Court, but I do not believe it's going to prevail at all. But then basically have state legislatures claim, look, we've made the unilateral decision. Trump wins our state. We actually don't care what the voters say at all. And that was going to be their plan. And when former Vice President Pence, then Vice President Pence, wouldn't do that, the plan was, all right, MAGA Republicans in the House and Senate object, delay this thing, let the insurrectionists in, create this conflict, don't count the electoral votes, and then throw it to the state legislature. So that's one of the prongs of Special Counsel Jack Smith's criminal investigation that is ongoing into Donald Trump's election interference. And if you just want to think of the election interference criminal investigation, think one prong of that is fake electors. The other prong is, I think, seditious conspiracy, aiding and abetting the insurrection, as well as obstruction of an official proceeding, both of those carrying with it basically a 20-year prison sentence. There's also criminal investigations for unlawfully pressuring state and local election officials, as well as in criminal investigations for wire fraud or campaign finance violations, where these Donald Trump organizations, political action committees and such, were making promises to people to take in money, and were basically lying to people. And in one situation, Donald Trump said that he was creating a legal defense fund to take in money, and that's actually never existed and was never created in the first place. The January 6th committee said about this individual, Gary Michael Brown, that they had found credible evidence that he was aware of, participated in efforts to promote unsupported allegations of fraud in the November 2020 presidential election and encourage state legislators to alter the outcome of the November 2020 election by, among other things, appointing alternate slates of electors to send competing electoral votes to the United States Congress. The committee said that Brown and other members of Trump's campaign had a coordinated strategy to contact Republican members of state legislatures in certain states that former President Trump had lost and urge them to reclaim their authority by sending an alternate slate of electors that would support former President Trump. The committee said it appeared Brown, quote, helped manage the Trump campaign staffers participating in this effort. When NBC cameras saw Gary Michael Brown leaving the courtroom, Gary Michael Brown's response was that he was starving and needed to get a sandwich to eat. And what this tells me, the fact that Special Counsel Jack Smith is now interviewing people like Gary Michael Brown or bring them before the grand jury. We talked about 2 weeks ago, some of the fake electors from Nevada, Republicans, testified before the grand jury. I think Special Counsel Jack Smith just dotting his I's and crossing his T's at this point. He's got all the, I think, critical evidence already established on the case. I think he's got the wire fraud charges pretty much nailed down. He's got the day of January 6th insurrection charges nailed down. That's especially being helped by the fact that Oath Keepers and 3%ers and Proud Boys and all of these other people who have been convicted of seditious conspiracy or obstruction or other crimes are all saying they were doing it in coordination with Donald Trump. So I think that Jack Smith will file a seditious conspiracy charge. If not, he will definitely be bringing an obstruction of an official proceeding charge against Donald Trump. Both of those would carry with it a 20-year sentence. So I think his remaining investigation is focused on those other two areas, the fake elector scheme, as well as the threats to state and local election officials. He's already got the testimony of Mark Meadows, and we've heard before that Donald Trump and his legal team have using rat emojis to refer to former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. They believe that he's flipped on Donald Trump and that he's been granted some form of derivative use immunity for his testimony, a limited immunity to provide information, and that he's ultimately cooperating with Special Counsel Jack Smith. We can't confirm that cooperation 100%, but Mark Meadows' lawyers did not deny when asked, we talked about this in the past, whether or not he had received any immunity or was cooperating. And he certainly, as far as we know, from all of the reporting out there, is not speaking with anybody in Trump world right now. So there you have it. Special Counsel Jack Smith continuing his criminal investigation while he's pursuing criminal charges, and entered into a protective order in the Southern District of Florida criminal case, turned over a massive amount of discovery, already far exceeded the discovery obligations owed there, moving at a rapid pace there, got the team working in Washington, D.C. As a lawyer, it is a real privilege to watch kind of such skilled lawyering take place at this scale across the nation, and it's an honor to be able to discuss it with you so you kind of understand the intricacies going on in these various areas. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. It's free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out as well at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We're doing a exclusive Patreon podcast that's about to launch, where we're going to be answering Q&As, and also wherever you get audio podcasts, subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast. Thanks for watching, and hit subscribe on this YouTube channel, and have an excellent day.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.